Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Summer Course in Medical Physics 2024. We enter our 5th day, and before we start our lecture session, I invite for all participants to fill the attendance list that you can find the link in the chat room. And in this morning session, we will discuss about the noise, NPS, noise uniformity, and their measurement using IndoQCT. This topic will be delivered by Dr. Hoirul Anam, and therefore, please welcome Dr. Hoirul Anam.
Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. In today's summer course, we will discuss regarding the noise uniformity, noise power spectrum, and their measurement using IndoQCT. Can you see my screen?
Yes, Mr.
Have you seen my screen?
Yes, I see.
Yeah. Okay. So this is our 5th summer course, and the topic will be about the noise and also their measurement using the IndoQCT. And this is the overview of the topics, introduction, and then we move to the noise measurement, and then we move to the noise uniformity. After that, we discuss about the noise type measurement, and then we move to the NPS, noise power spectrum. And after that, we will try together to measure the noise using the IndoQCT. Okay, and as usual, at the end of the session, we will try together. And so please prepare your computer with the IndoQCT software. Okay, noise. Noise, it is the most important parameters of image quality. And noise is the stochastic fluctuation of image pixel due to the measurement uncertainty. So noise can be the quantum noise, or can be in the electronic noise, and also can be from the electronic noise, and also can be from the process of the obtaining the image. For example, from the reconstruction and many other aspects. So the noise cannot be avoided, because the noise is the nature of our image. We only can reduce the noise, but we can avoid the noise in the image. Okay, this is the example of the image. If we have the image, although with the low contrast object, if the noise is very low, so the object will clearly seen. But if the image is noisy, so the object, especially of the low contrast object, will not be seen clearly. So to quantify the noise and also to reduce the noise is very important to get the very quality image. And the fluctuation, the random values due to the anatomical variation, of course, it is not considered as the noise. So the noise is the fluctuation due to the imperfectness of the system to obtain the image. This is the example, the impact of the noise on the image detectability. And this one is the image, the computational image. And in this image, there are many objects, the low contrast objects, and we can see if in the y-axis, the contrast will be lower, and in the x-axis, the noise will be higher. And we can see here, if the image with a very high contrast and with very low noise, the object will be clearly seen, just like this object. And if the noise become greater, so the object is not clearly seen, especially for the low contrast object. So in this location, we cannot see the object within the image because of the noise, like this. So it is important to quantify the noise and also to reduce the noise in our image. And I think there are many techniques to reduce the noise. One of them by using the specific image reconstruction, or by using the post-processing filter, or by using the most effective detectors. It is the effort how to reduce the noise from our image. So as we already discussed, that the noise source are classified into three main categories: quantum noise, image generating process noise, and also noise from the system limitation. Okay, this is the example of the parameters will affect the quantum noise, such as the tube current, tube voltage, scan speed, slice thickness, pitch, and so on. For the tube current, for example, if the tube current is lower, so the X-ray, the number of X-ray will be lower. And if the X-ray is lower, so the incoming X-ray to the detector will be lower. And if the X-ray number is lower, then the noise will be higher. And this considered as the quantum noise. So the quantum noise is the noise because the limitation number of the X-ray. Yeah, as we understood that the the X-ray will interact with the matter using the probability. So if the number of the X-ray is lower, this will cause the noise in the image, and this noise refer to the quantum noise. So, and it is basically very easy how to reduce the noise, especially for the quantum noise. One of them is by increasing the number of X-ray, and it can be achieved by increasing the tube current. If we use the tube current, the increased tube current, or by using the increased tube voltage, the number of X-ray will be higher, and of course, the noise will be lower. But unfortunately, if the tube current is higher, so the dose will be higher also. So it is important for us to do the optimization, not only to get the lower noise, but we should also consider the noise will be received by the patient. So it is the quantum noise. Another example, for example, from the scan speed. If the scan is very fast, for example, so the number of X-ray also limited coming to the detector. And of course, the noise also will be higher. The slide thickness, if the slice thickness is very small, for example, it is good for the spatial resolution, especially in the Z-axis, because the detail of the object will be clearly seen. But if the slice thickness is very small, meaning that the X-ray coming to the detector will be very small also. And of course, the noise will be higher. So the input parameters should be optimized. We have the very good image with lower noise, but also with the lower dose received by the patient. Okay, this is the quantum noise. And this is the example. We have two images with a different image level. And these images acquired with the different tube loading, tube current multiplied by the rotation time. In the low image, in the bottom image, the tube loading is 71. So we can see that the image is noisy, and the image will be around 16 Hounsfield unit. And in the upper image, we acquired the image with the relatively high tube loading, so the image will be lower, and the image is around 8 Hounsfield unit. It is the parameters, input parameters affecting to the quantum noise. Okay, this is an example, the impact of the MAS, tube loading, to and the slice thickness to the noise. And we can see here, if the tube loading increase, then the noise will be lower. Also, if the slide thickness become wider, also the noise will be lower. Okay. This is another example, the impact of the tube voltage to the noise with the different CDDI volume, CDDI, meaning with the different tube current. We can see here, if the dose become higher, the noise become lower. And it also depends on the tube voltage. We can see here, if the tube voltage become higher, you can see here, and then the noise will become lower. So this is the correlation with the noise and the tube voltage, and also noise with the dose received by the patient or by the output dose. And the second one, and the second process producing the noise is from the parameters of the reconstruction algorithm. For example, if we use the filter back projection, FBP, of course, the FBP will produce the noise. And FBP have many filters, such as the lung filter, bone filter, soft tissue filter, edge filter, and so on. And each filter will produce their own noise. And the different reconstruction filter, such as the IR, FBP, and then by using the AI, of course, every type of the filter will produce their own noise. And also the noise comes from the calibration effectiveness, okay, like this. And this is the example of the image, low contrast object, reconstructed with the FBP, filter back projection, with a different filters. The software, the first one, the image will be constructed with the soft kernel, bone kernel, and edge kernel. Okay, as we can see here, that if we use the edge kernel, of course, the edge will be clearly seen, but the image will be noisy. But if we use the soft kernel, the edge will be blurred, but the image will be lower of the noise. So if we choose the filter, of course, it should depend on the application. For example, if you want to see the tumors within the soft tissue, or we will see the crack in our bone, so we should use the appropriate filter. Okay, this is the example of the noise from the different reconstruction filter with the different slice thickness. In the top image, using the filter back projection, and the lower image using the VO, one of the iterative reconstruction. And we can see here clearly that by using the VO reconstruction, the image is lower compared to the filter back projection. And by using the wider slice thickness, also the noise is lower compared by using the very small slice thickness. This is another example in the coronal planes of the images reconstructed with the different algorithm by using the filter back projection and also using the iterative reconstruction. We can see here clearly by using the iterative reconstruction, the image the noise in the image will be lower. We can clearly see to this image. This is another result from the study. The noise from the images are reconstructed with the different tube loading, and then using the ASIR iterative reconstruction with the different strength. As we already mentioned in the, I think in the first session, the ASIR, one of the iterative reconstruction, has the feature to, and we can choose the strength of the IR from the 0% to the 100%. The 0% meaning that it is similar to the filter back projection, and the 100% it is the maximum level of the ASIR. And we can see here, if the strength of the ASIR become higher, the noise will be lower. It's clearly seen here, and it is seen for the different tube current. It is we already mentioned many times. If the tube current lower, then the noise will be higher. Okay, it is clear. This is in the third source producing the noise. It is from the system limitation, some from the electronic noise, from the data acquisition system, from the scatter radiation, and many other sources. And this sources is categorized as the noise from the system limitation. This is the example, the study published in the OGR, the electronic noise in the CT detectors. Yeah, you can see here. This is the image coiled with the different detectors, and we can see here the image will be different from the old one and the new one. By using the new one, the noise is lower. Okay, this is the example of the noise from the system limitation, because each detector, of course, they have their own limitation. Okay, we already discussed about the noise and the sources, and now we will measure the noise. How to measure the noise? Okay, it is the very basic one. The easiest way to measure the noise is by calculating the standard deviation (ST) of the pixel values within the ROI region of interest. So there are many software, including the software in the City Council can be used to measure the standard deviation, and it is very basic one. This is the formula to calculate the standard deviation. The X is the pixel values or city number in the Hounsfield unit. The N is the number of the pixel within the ROI. So it is the example. We make the ROI within the image, and then we already understand that the pixel values has a specific size, and also it has the pixel values. And this is the example. If we convert the gray level to the values like this, and we have many values in the pixel, and then we measure the standard deviation using this equation. In this example, we get the values 0.63 Hounsfield unit. This is the, I think it's very simple and very basic for measuring the noise. Okay. And this is the example of the images from the APM Phantom. This one, APM Phantom. This one is from the RCR Phantom, and this one from the CAT Phantom. It is can be used. It can be used for measuring the noise. Basically, the noise should be measured in the region of the homogeneous region. Okay, we can look at the ROI here or here or here. Of course, we should move away, maybe to up, down, or left, or right, because there is the object for the beam alignment, as already discussed by Professor Wahyu yesterday. Okay, maybe there is a question about the ROI size. What is the ROI size for measuring the noise? Okay, the ROI, it should not be so small or so wide, because if the ROI so small, it may not provide reliable statistic because the very small size of the ROI. And if the ROI is very wide, maybe it captures not only the fluctuation within the homogeneous region, maybe they also capture the difference of city number because of the anatomical variation. So the ROI should be moderate one. And based on the report of the APM number 39, they state that the ROI is approximately around 1 centimeter square. And the latest report, number 233, the ROI size should be approximately it is error 10% of the phantom area, 10% from the phantom area. And it is my study. The impact of the ROI size on the accuracy of the noise measurement. So in this example, in this study, we use the image of the phantom, and we also use the computational phantom, and we add the noise to the phantom, and it can be done using the IndoQCT. You can try by yourself. and then we add the noise with the different level, and then we measure the noise with different size of the ROI, and it is the result. We can see here for the different noise level, A, B, C, D, E, and F, with the different noise level from the 5 Hounsfield unit to the relatively high noise level around 100 Hounsfield unit. You can see here. You can see that the ROI is very small, so the result is you can see here. This is the fluctuation in the result. But if the ROI start from the around 21, the result is the constant and relatively consistent, meaning that it is important to note, if we measure the noise, the ROI should be more than 21 pixel, 21 by 21. 21 by 21 pixels. This is another result from the image of the phantom. This one from the computational phantom, and this one from the OCR phantom. And the same trend we can also see from the OCR phantom. If the size of the ROI more than 21 pixels, then the result will be consistent and constant. And this is the standard from the IAEA for the noise. You can see here, the noise should be 25% from the baseline. For the acceptable and for the achievable should be within 10% from the baseline. This is the also from the IAEA for the medical physicists, but I think the standard is similar. The acceptable within the 25%, and for achievable within the 10% from the baseline. Okay, it is for measuring the noise, basically very easy. And then we move to the third regarding the noise uniformity measurement. As we discussed yesterday, the uniformity of city number is important, and the uniformity of the noise also important. Yeah, because there are many factors affecting the city number and also the noise. So basically, to measure the uniformity of the noise is similar to from the measurement of the city number uniformity by using the 5 ROIs located in the center and also in the peripheral location in the 3, 6, 9, and also 12 o'clock. And then we measure the noise by using the standard deviation values, and then we check the minimum values and the maximum values, and then we subtract the maximum using the minimum values, and the values is considered as the noise uniformity. Basically very easy. It is in Indonesia, the Bapeten also have decided the standard from the noise measurement. In Indonesia, for the quality control and also for the compliance test, for the noise measurement should be at 120 kilovolt, tube loading 300 MAS, and slice thickness should be 8 millimeters. But in some cases, we cannot set these values because maybe these values is not available in the city console. So if we set with the different input parameters, we should convert to the standard one by using this formula. This is the noise from the another set values, and then we by using this formula, and we get the noise estimation from these input parameters. And then the noise uniformity measured, calculated by the noise maximum minus by the noise minimum. And the noise uniformity should be lower than 2 Hounsfield unit by using this formula. So in the clinical application, I think if we measure the noise in 5 locations and then we calculate by using this formula, I think it is time consuming. So it is the existence of the importance of the automatic software for measuring the noise uniformity. Yeah, it is the standard from the Bapeten, the agency regulation of the Indonesia. The noise uniformity should be within 2 Hounsfield unit. Maybe any question? It is enough to capture the noise uniformity only by using the 5 ROIs. Of course, similar to the city number, it is not enough. So the effort to capture the noise homogeneity come in the literature by using the SD-map. Okay, this is the original image. Of course, this is the noisy image. And then we measure the noise using specific kernel, using specific window, for example, 9x9. And then we get the standard deviation at that position. After that, we move to another, and we get again the SD, and then we move again 1 pixel to the right, and then we calculate again the SD. After that, we move again across the image. And the values is called as the standard deviation map. This is the example of the standard deviation map. Okay, but it is difficult to perform except using the software, of course. Okay, and after that, we make the ROI, many ROI, similar to the city number homogeneity. And we can set the size of the ROI. And after that, we measure the maximum value and the minimum value. It is called as the noise homogeneity. It is more accurate compared to the noise uniformity. And also the other metrics has already introduced. The name is NUI, Noise Uniformity Index. Meaning that after we create the many ROI here, and then we measure the average values within 1 ROI, and then we calculate again the standard deviation. So it is the standard deviation from the average from the standard deviation map. So it is called as the NUI, Noise Uniformity Index. Okay, and this is the new metric, and AAPM use this metric for characterizing the noise homogeneity for the modern CT scanner. Okay, and this is the noise in homogeneity. This is very simple, only by measure the maximum value within the many ROI and minus by the minimum value. So we get the noise homogeneity. And don't worry, we can measure, we can calculate this noise homogeneity very easy using in the QCT by only using one button. Okay, this is the process how to create the noise SD map. This is the example, the image of the city, and then we provide the kernel with specific size. In this example, 3 by 3, and then we, of course, 3 by 3, meaning that there are 9 pixels, and then we calculate the standard deviation, and we get the one value, and then we locate one value in the green position. After that, we move to the another position, 1 pixel move to the right, and then we calculate again the SD. After that, we move again, and then we move again, although at the end of the position. And this is the SD map. And after we get the SD map, and then we create the mini ROI here, and then we measure the NUI, noise uniformity index, or noise inhomogeneity. It is basically very simple by using the InduQCT, but actually for the algorithm is relatively complex to do. And yeah, for creating the SD map, because many processes should be done, so maybe it takes a relatively longer time. I think more than 1 second, maybe need around 10 seconds or 30 seconds, depend on our computer. Okay, and then can we measure the noise type? Of course, yeah, by using the histogram. We can also by using the InduQCT, we can also measure the histogram, as already mentioned yesterday. This is the histogram, and we can see the profile, and we can see the histogram, and we can decide is it the Gaussian, Rayleigh, or Elang, or other noise. This is the example of the noise, and the latest parameters to quantify the noise is the NPS, noise power spectrum. It is, I think, more complex because in the noise power spectrum, we not only consider the level of the noise, we can also consider the frequency of the noise. It is the example, the image from the paper written by Professor Friedman, published in the Medical Physics. If we measure the noise, these two images will be, we can obtain the similar SD, standard deviation, meaning the noise is similar. But we can see here the appearance of the two images are different because these two images has the different texture. So it is not enough to characterize the noise only using the standard deviation values. We should develop another matrix to quantify not only the noise level, but only the texture of the noise. So from this phenomenon, and then it leads to the introduction to the noise power spectrum. So the noise power spectrum, the noise texture is the visual impression of the image of the noise. It is fine or coarse. The noise texture has large impact on the perceived quality of the image. For example, if we have the low contrast object, and then we add the similar noise, but with different texture, so the appearance of the object, low contrast object, is different. Yeah, so it is important to quantify the noise texture, not only the noise level, using the standard deviation matrix. Okay. So the noise texture, it can be quantitatively characterized by using the noise power spectrum. Okay, so the NPS will provide more complete description of the noise, not only the noise level, but only the texture of the noise. The NPS is especially important after the introduction of the iterative reconstruction. So in the era of the FBP, filter back projection, maybe the NPS is not so important. But after the introduction of the iterative reconstruction, especially after the deep learning reconstruction, so the NPS is more important. Okay. This is the concept of the NPS. For example, if we go to the sea and then we put something in the water of the sea, there are, for example, the wave, and this is the tides. The tides with this one is with the lower frequency, and then it is the set like this. This is set with more higher frequency, and each set there is very many also frequencies, many fluctuation within one set. So we can see here so many frequency in the surface of the sea like this. And how to detect the frequency? Of course, by using the Fourier transformation. If we implement the Fourier transformation, we convert from the spatial domain to the frequency domain, and we can see like this. So this is the amplitude, and this one is the frequency. So we can clearly see that there are three groups of the frequency: the tides with the lower frequency, the set with the middle frequency, and the wave with the very high frequency, with very fast moving, like this. So and this image is considered as the noise power spectrum. So the noise power spectrum is the x-axis will be frequency, and the y-axis will be noise power. Of course, this is not the frequency of time, but spatial frequency, cycle per millimeter, or cycle per centimeter, or cycle per unit of a spatial, like this. Okay. It is important to understand, but the NPS not only characterize the level of the noise, but also the frequency of the noise. And we can see here, for example, at the frequency, certain frequency, the noise like this. At the frequency like this, the noise like this. So we can see the complete picture of the noise by using the NPS, noise power spectrum. Okay, this is the example of the appearance of the three images having the three different texture, but with the similar noise level. Okay, and if we apply the Fourier transformation, we get the result like this. It is the Gaussian noise. It is we can see here in the Gaussian noise, the noise is distributed randomly, follow the Gaussian distribution with the frequency from the very small one to the very high. But maybe in some cases, the noise like this, the noise in the zero frequency is also zero, and the noise will be higher, and after that the noise will be lower. It is the specific filter and specific noise type. So the every noise type will create the different noise power spectrum, although maybe they have the similar noise level. Okay, basically to measure the NPS is very easy in the concept, but actually for the real measurement and the software is relatively complex. Yeah, but don't worry, because there are many software to calculate it automatically. One of them is in the QCity. Okay, this is the example of the CAD Phantom, and then this is the image in the one module, the homogeneous module, and then we make the ROI in the homogeneous region, and after that we apply the two-dimensional Fourier transformation like this, and we get the 2D NPS. This is the formula for measuring the NPS, the DFT, meaning that the digital Fourier transformation, and G is the pixel values within the homogeneous region, minus with the G. This one is the to detrending, yeah, because if it is also the trend, so the trend should be detrending first. And after we get the two-dimensional NPS, and then we can calculate the average by using the angular line. We have many angular line, and then we average the NPS, and then we get the single or one-dimensional NPS. This is the one-dimensional NPS. And by using this graph, the NPS graph, we can see that the noise is dominated by the frequency around 0.3 up to 0.4. There is the noise in the zero frequency, but there is no noise for the frequency greater than 0.8 in this example. So we can see the frequency and also the noise for each frequency by using the NPS, noise power spectrum. This is another example, and the APM report that we can extract the two important parameters from the NPS. The first one is the peak frequency, and the second one is the average frequency. Yeah. So from this one, from this NPS, we can calculate the peak frequency in this position, the maximum noise, and then we like this, we calculate in this position. This one is the peak frequency, and then we also measure the average one, and this one is the average frequency. And APM state that in America, the hospital and the medical physicist or radiographer not only reporting the noise level, but also reporting the average frequency and also the peak frequency. And this is the formula for measuring the peak frequency and also for measuring the average frequency. This is also the Nyquist frequency. The Nyquist frequency is the maximum frequency. Okay, if we measure the NPS or also MTF, it is limited by the Nyquist frequency. So if we using, for example, the size, the wide FOV, field of view, meaning that the Nyquist frequency is small. So it is better to measure the spatial resolution and also the noise with the very small field of view. This is the NPS measured from another location in the image. And this is very nice. The result, actually this result published in the medical physics and also published in the books by Professor Sami. And this is the NPS from the image reconstructed using the filter back projection using the different MA. You can see here that if the MA is higher, and then the noise will be lower. It is important if we normalize the NPS, so the NPS will coincide with each other. Yeah, and the peak frequency is similar. But it is very interesting if we use the iterative reconstruction. Iterative reconstruction. This is the NPS from the different MA. Maybe someone is not surprised with this result, but if we normalize the result like this, it is surprising because the peak is shifted to the right or to the left position. We can see here, if the tube current is lower, the peak of the frequency is shifted to the left position. It is very, very interesting. Okay. So, and this phenomenon is called as the non-linear of the image. So the image is not linear. Yeah, because the different MA not only produce the different level of the noise, but also the different texture of the noise. So it is very interesting. Yeah. And this is the result of the K. K is the peak, meaning the peak frequency. This is using the FBP. The peak is constant with the different MA, but by using the iterative reconstruction, it is very important because the peak frequency is shifted. The peak frequency becomes smaller if the MA is smaller. It is very, very important. Yeah. This is another example from the Brady, published in the JSCMP, Journal of Applied Clinical Medical Physics. I think the similar trend also obtained in this paper. This is another example by Marco, also published in the JSCMP, and they studied the NPS from the FPP and ACFV from the 40% to 100%, and the result is already similar to the previous one. So it is the idealized city system. For the idealized city system, the NPS is rotationally invariant, so similar in any location. And NPS magnitude inversely proportional to the MAS. I think it is very easy to understand. And the NPS shape is independent of MAS. It is the ideal of the city system, and it is produced by the FPP, filter back projection. But this idealized city system is broken if we use the iterative reconstruction. So as we already mentioned before. Okay, so the existence of the NPS is important because we can not only consider the noise level, but we also obtain the texture of the noise, characterized by the peak frequency and also average frequency. Okay, and now we will try to measure the noise by using the IndoQCT. And please open your computer and we will try together. And if you have any question, for example, please raise your hand and we can discuss together. Okay, I will open my IndoQCT, and please open your IndoQCT. Sorry. Okay. Wait 4 minutes. Okay, please open your IndoQCT also. Okay, now the IndoQCT is already opened. And in this example, we will try to measure the noise, noise uniformity, and also noise homogeneity, and also the NBS. Okay, I will try to measure using the OCR or CAT-FEN Phantom on this example. Okay. For the CAT-FEN Phantom, the example should be like this. So we should change the slice to the like this one. This one is the example, the similar one. Okay, and then we should change this one to the CAT-FEN, and we choose the tabs number 3, the noise. Okay, this is, we have the 4 subtabs: noise, uniformity, homogeneity, and NBS. Okay, for the noise, we can measure the noise manually, and we can also measure it automatically, just like the previous example. If we want to measure the manual one, there is a button, and we click the button, and we can also locate this ROI within the object, within the in the specific location. For example, in this location, and after that we calculate. This very easy, and we get the noise. The noise is the standard deviation of the pixel values within the ROI. And by using the IndoQCT, we can also obtain some input parameters such as the voltage, chip loading, and also slice thickness. And if we in Indonesia, so we should estimate the noise from the specific parameters. The voltage should be 120, chip loading should be 300, and the slice thickness should be 8 millimeters. So by using the IndoQCT, we can automatically calculate the noise if the input parameter is virtually using these parameters, and we get the values 2.31 Pascal unit. Okay, like this. It is basically very easy. And if we want to measure the automatically, we should check the automatic, and there is the ROI type circle, the ROI diameter, and we just click this button, calculate. So it is the result like this for measuring the noise using the CAT-FEN Phantom. And I think it is similar for other Phantom, such as the CR, APM, Siemens, Philips, CAT-FEN, and so on. And now we move to the second metric, uniformity. This one. It is similar to the uniformity of the city number. We can measure the automatic and manual one. We will try using the manual one. So we have the 5 ROIs here. So we click one, and we look at in the center, ROI number 2, and we look at maybe here. Number 3, we get locate in here, for example. Right, in number 4, it will be located here. Number 5, maybe in the here. And after that, we just calculate by clicking this button. And we get, this is our ROI, and we get the noise at each ROI, and also estimated the ROI within with the 120 kilovolt chip loading 300 milliampere second and the thickness 8 millimeters. And we automatically measure the uniformity. The result will be 0.68 Hounsfield unit. And if we compare to the standard from the Bapeten, this is from the Indonesia agency, it is pass because the Bapeten state that the uniformity should be less than 2 Hounsfield unit. Because our values is 0.6, of course it is within the tolerance level. Okay, it is for measuring the noise uniformity. Okay, it is clear. And if you want to measure the automatic one, it is only clicking one button, very simple, and we get the values. Okay, it's very easy to do. And now we will try to the third parameters. It is the noise uniformity. You click this one, and of course we can also measure manual one, and we can also measure the automatic one. It is the parameters for the automatic. The kernel size we set by default 11 pixel. Of course, we can change this size. This is upper limit. It is important to set the limit, meaning that the pixel values consider less than minus 1000 Hounsfield unit up to the plus 100. It is important to set because in some cases the pixel values is different because we use the different material. Okay, this is the example because this is the water, so it is enough from the minus 100 Hounsfield unit to the plus 100, and this is the distance ratio. It is the distance from the edge of the phantom, and this is the cell size because we have the many ROI, and each ROI has the size of the 15 pixel. And of course, we can also change these values. We can measure the automatic one and also the manual one. In this example, we will try to measure the automatic one. And to do that, we only by clicking this button, the calculate button. It takes relatively longer time because for the creating the SD map, it is rather longer. But I think it less than 1 minute, yeah, for the developing the SD map. Okay, it is for the noise homogeneity. Yeah, it's already. And this one we can see here. This is our SD map, standard deviation map. And this one is the SD map with the ROI, many ROI in the SD map. And we also have this one, the histogram of the SD map. Okay, and this is a histogram of the SD map, and we have also the peak of the histogram. Okay, the standard deviation at the peak histogram is considered as the GNI. GNI is the global noise index. It is the new parameters introduced by the AIPM. So by using these parameters, we also get the automatic noise measurement based on the GNI, global noise index. Okay, and you can read the papers. I think now more than maybe 20 papers describing the global noise index. Okay, And this one is our result. What the maximum values of the noise from the ROI is the 3.4, and the mean values is the 1.7, and the GNI, and this is the global noise index, meaning the noise automatically measured by using this method, is the 2.1, and this is the NUI, noise uniformity index, 0.27, and in homogeneity, meaning the maximum minus by the minimum one, and we have the 1.7. Okay, this is the for measuring the noise homogeneity. Okay, and then we move to the last parameters, the NPS, noise power spectrum. And for measuring the noise power spectrum, we can also change the parameters by using the automatic one or by using the manual one. If you choose the automatic one, click the automatic. And there are the number of ROI in this software. We can change from the 1 ROI, 3 ROI, and 5 ROI. This example, maybe we will try the 5 ROI, maybe. Right? This is the ROI size. This is the threshold because we use the automatic one. And this is the sampling, because if we doing the average of the two-dimensional NPS, so we should make the line, and then we move to the another angle to get, and then the average to get one-dimensional NPS. This is the sampling angle. So it is better if we use the 1 degree. And this is the that original option. And we can also using the fitting or original one, and we can also choose the both, meaning the original and fitting. Okay, we will try by using the original one, and after that we just click this button. Okay, we click this button and this one. Yeah, we have the because we use the 5 ROI. This one 5 ROI, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we get the 2-dimensional ROI, 5 of the 2-dimensional ROI. This one, number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 5, and then we get the average to get the 1-dimensional, and then we subsequently we average again to get only 1-dimensional NPS like this. And in the QCT, we'll also calculate the mean frequency, also the peak frequency, and the values quantitatively shown here in the result section. This is the Nyquist frequency, 1.2, the noise 2.8, the integral noise. It is important. The noise is calculated based on the standard deviation. The integral NPS. The integral NPS meaning that we integrate our NPS to get the integral NPS, and the integral NPS is similar, theoretically similar to the noise level. So, but because the technique is rather different, so the result is slightly different. And the noise we get the 2.8, and for the integral NPS 2.99, but it is very similar. And this one is the peak frequency, and this one is the mean frequency. Okay, yeah, it is the technique for measuring the. This is for the measuring the NPS, and we can try maybe if you want to measure the NPS for the many slices, it can also bin. It can also perform by using the QCT. And this one I already mentioned. Maybe in this example, I will use the one ROI. and then I will use the fit and the original one, the both. Okay, and then I click. Now this is the result. This is the original one. This one is the fit of the NPS. And we can also change the polynomial, yeah, because if we use the fit, we use the polynomial degree number 1, 2, 3, 4. In this example, we use the 4-degree polynomial. We can change the degree based on our specific NPS. Okay, I think that's all from me. Maybe we can continue to the discussion. Okay, thank you very much. Ya, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much, Dr. Anam, for your outstanding presentation regarding the noise, NPS, and its measurement. And now I will give an opportunity to the participant to join the discussion session. Maybe there is three. I think there are 3 participants that have raised their hands, and I will give this opportunity to Rahmat Riyati first. Yes. Yes, he is an offline participant, so I will please give your question here.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. I have 2 questions to Dr. Anam. The first question, the noise can be measured by placing ROI in the image. The result of the deviation standard of the object as the noise of the object. If we want to measure noise of variation diameter of the object, for example, the object in the low contrast ACR for SIG4, there are many objects with variation of the diameter, such as 25 millimeter, 6 millimeter, 5 millimeter, 4 millimeter, 3 millimeter, and then 2 millimeter. In my question, what is a correlation between noise and diameter, variation of diameter of the object? This is my first question. And second question about ROI says, if we want to measure noise of the object, for example, the object which have diameter of 25 millimeter, how much diameter of the ROI? It is equal to 25 millimeter, or it is less than 25 millimeter. What is the best? Thank you.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, thank you very much for Mr. Riyadi. What is the impact of the diameter of the phantom to the noise? Yeah. As already mentioned in the first session, or maybe the 2 sessions by Dr. Diana, and the CT scan can be, we can obtain the image with the TCM technique and non-TCM technique. Okay, the TCM and non-TCM. The non-TCM meaning that the tube current is constant, whatever our phantom and our size of the phantom. This is the non-TCM. But by using the TCM technique, the tube current will be depend on the size on the phantom. Okay, we first discuss on the non-TCM because this is the very old and standard one. For the old scanner without TCM, meaning that tube current is constant, whatever our size of the phantom. So if the phantom become larger, so the X-ray will penetrate our phantom. Because the phantom is larger, so the absorption also become larger. So the X-ray reach to the center position, for example, will be lesser. Because the number of X-ray is lesser, so the noise become higher. Meaning that if we use the larger size of the phantom, the noise will be higher. And if we use the small phantom, the noise will be lower. If we use the larger phantom, the noise will be higher. And if we use the small phantom, the noise will be lower. Okay, it is clear for the TCM, non-TCM technique. And for the TCM technique, yeah, it is complicated, yeah, because in the TCM technique, we can also set the strength of the TCM. But in the concept, if we use the larger phantom, the TCM understand this larger phantom. So the MA, the tube current, automatically set higher by the TCM. Because the MA is higher, so the noise become lower based on TCM. Now, before that, we already understood if the phantom is larger, the noise will be higher. So the combination of the higher noise and the lower noise, it is depend on the strength of the TCM. In some cases, by using the TCM, if the phantom larger, maybe the noise larger, maybe constant, maybe lower. So it is very complex if we use the TCM, yeah, because many factors affecting this phenomenon. But in the fixed tube current modulation, it is very easy to understand. If the phantom become larger, so the noise also become larger. And if the phantom, the size is small, the noise, in the phantom is small, the noise is low. It is very, very, very easy, I think. Okay, can you understand my explanation? Okay, maybe I will move to the second question about the ROI size. Yeah, as already I mentioned, that the AAPM recommend to use minimum 1 centimeter square. It is good practice to measure the noise. And another report, AAPM also said that using the 1% size of the ROI compared to the size of the field of view, it is better practice. Okay, so I think around 1 centimeter to 5 centimeter is good for the measuring the NPS. And for my study, for the size greater than 20 by 20 pixel is good, because the fluctuation of the pixel values within the ROI is well captured by that size. Okay, I think by using 1 centimeter, 2 centimeter is good for the measuring the NPS. So for measuring the noise. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Anam, for your explanation.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you, Mr. Rahmat, for the question, and we will move to the next participant. There is Miss Isvina Uniatunada. Please open your mic and deliver your question.
Okay, thank you for the time. I would like to ask about the differences about the differences between NPS and SNR, signal to noise ratio. And can you explain the formula of SNR in brief?
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Miss Isvina. Yeah, basically these two metric is different. The NPS is noise power spectrum, meaning the quantification of the noise texture in the image, as already I mentioned. And the second one, the SNR, signal to noise ratio, maybe the CNR. We will discuss this parameter when we discuss about the low contrast detectability, but I will discuss a little bit here. The SNR is the one of the metrics of the image quality, and SNR is the signal or the mean value of the pixel values, mean value of the city number within the ROI divided by the noise. It is SNR. And if the SNR is high, meaning the image is good, because the why is good? Because the noise will be lower. So the average pixel value divided by the noise, and the noise is lower, so the SNR become higher. So SNR is one of the metric of the image quality, and the SNR should be high enough. Okay, it is for the good image quality. Okay, but for measuring the SNR, the noise is basically measured using the very basic one, using the standard deviation, not using the NPS. But I see in the latest paper, they also developed the new metric SNR based on the NPS. It is, I think you can search in the literature. I think now many scientists use the NPS to develop the SNR, signal to noise ratio. Okay, I hope it is answer your question.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Isvina, for the question. Maybe the next question from the chat room, from Ms. Sarah Ikrimatul Ismi. How does noise affect the measurement of linear attenuation coefficient at two different energies in dual energy city? And what approach can be used to improve the robustness of material classification against noise variability?
Yeah. It is important if we discuss about the DECT, dual energy city, as already discussed in the first session when we introduced the city technology. Again, the DECT is considered the latest development of the city by using the dual energy. And I already said that dual energy is maybe mislead because the actual is not dual energy, but dual spectrum energy. Yeah, not dual energy, but dual spectrum or dual voltage, like that. Okay, by using the DECT, we can also get the new features. Just for example, we can decompose the two material. For example, the bone and also the contrast agent. This is by using the DECT. So the one parameters for the quality of the DECT, of course, it is the noise. So in the DECT, the input parameters such as MA, tube current also important. So if we use the DECT with the very small MA, so the image noise will be higher. So although we use the DECT, we should optimize our image with the specific values of the MA. I think like that. And I already mentioned after the discovery of the DECT, and now there is a new the latest one. The name is the PCCT, Photon Counting City. Is Photon Counting City. It is the new one, the latest one, the PCCT, Photon Counting City. Okay, by using the Photon Counting City, there are many features in the PCCT, but I think one of the features by using the Photon Counting City, because we can select the energy of the X-ray, and we already understand that the noise is come from the low energy of the X-ray, so we can delete the low energy of the city. So by using the PCCT, we will get the image with the lower noise compared to the standard DECT or single energy city, CECT. So by using the PCCT, the noise can be overcome more intuitively compared to using single energy or by using the dual energy. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Anam, for the answer. And we move to the next question from Ms. Nur Ain Rabai. Can you briefly explain the difference between FPP and iterative reconstruction?
Yeah, thank you very much for your question. But we already discussed in the first session, and I hope the committee will share the videos of the first session, and you can refer to the videos and see the detail the difference between the FPP and the iterative reconstruction. Shortly, the FPP is the standard reconstruction. If we have the cyanogram data, and then we filter the cyanogram, and after that we doing the back projection. It is the name of the filter back projection. But for the iterative reconstruction, the simple explanation is we have the cyanogram, and then we reconstruct the cyanogram to get the image. After that, we virtually doing projection using mathematical method, and then we get the virtual cyanogram, and then we compare our real cyanogram with the virtual cyanogram, and the difference will be used to update our image. After that, we do again the projection virtually, and then we get the second cyanogram, and then we compare again our second cyanogram with the real cyanogram, and the difference can be used to update again the image, and the loop run like that after until the image quality reach to our set like that. This is the simple explanation of the iterative reconstruction, and the detail about explanation. Please refer to the videos of the one session of our summer course. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Anam and Ms. Nur for the question. And I want to take this opportunity for us from me. I want to ask about the quantum noise. That we know the quantum noise is due to the fluctuation of the arrived photon in the detector. So, but in the publication by Walter Hude, it is stated that the noise is quadrupling of the number of photons. So if when the number of photons increase by a factor of 4, the relative noise will be half. Okay. So so what the meaning of fluctuation that that we use in the term of noise? So, and what your opinion about the stated by Walter Hugo? Thank you.
Yeah, it is correct. Yeah, if the number of photon become increase, meaning that the photon quantum noise become is decrease. It is
Hello, Dr. Anam.
because the number of rain is very small in the first, so we can see in, for example, in the floor the position of the water. But after the rain is so many, so then we cannot see again the position of the water. So it is true that if the X-ray, the number of X-ray increase, that the quantum noise will decrease.
Okay. Also, okay. So the the term of fluctuation is about the appearance in the pixel, right? Not about the so if we increase the tube current, we will always get that the noise will decrease. But the fluctuation, the exact number of noise is the fluctuation now.
I'm sorry, it is not clear. I don't know. Maybe my connection or your connection, but
Oh, yeah.
the voice is not clear.
Okay, so the fluctuation means that the exact number of noise in every pixel is not exactly we can predict, but
Yeah,
the
it is
phenomena.
follow the it is follow the it is follow the distribution, specific distribution.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can see the statistical distribution concerning this issue. And
Okay.
yeah, the dependence between the tube current to the noise and also dependent of the tube voltage to the noise, it is well known, and many literatures discuss this issue.
Okay, maybe next question is about the noise, the source of noise. We know that there are three sources of noise. The first, the quantum noise, the quantum noise, the image generation process, and system limitation. So if we conduct the quality control, is it true that we only concern about the quantum noise, or the another noise can also be detected in the quality control?
No, all noise are detected in our ROI.
Also,
Yeah,
it
all noises are detected in one ROI. Differentiate, it is from quantum noise, it is from the system limitation, it is from the reconstruction. We can separate the noise. So if we measure in one ROI, we actually measure the three types of the noise in one ROI.
Oh, okay. Okay, maybe thank you so much, Dr. Anam, for the answers. And is there any another question from participants? Yes, Miss Ayulsa, maybe please come to the front and ask your question.
Yeah, I have a question about the noise power spectrum. Based on the previous discussion, I understand that noise power spectrum, or NPC, with high frequency peaks has better and smoother noise appearance than the lower frequency one. Is that correct? And what are the parameters influence peak frequency, and how to get images with high frequency NPS? Is there any advice on how to get frequencies we desire? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr.
I'm
Answer.
sorry, the voice is not clear here.
Okay, I want to restate the question. How to get image with high frequency NPS? Is there any advice on how to get image we desire? And the second question is,
What parameters?
what parameters? Yes. What parameters that influence peak frequency and how to get image with high frequency NPS? Is there any advice on how to get image we desire?
Yeah, the frequency of the noise, it is the nature of the image. We only measure. It is nature of the image. If the image reconstructed maybe using the filter back projection, using the Boone filter, or using the soft tissue filter, so these two filters will produce the different nature of the noise with the different frequency. It is from the image reconstruction. So by using the NPS, we only detect the frequency and also the noise level at each frequency. So it is for measuring. Maybe any question, can we reduce the noise for the high frequency? Of course, it can. For example, by using the post-processing filter, okay? And you can try using the in the QCT. And in the QCT, there is a post-processing filter. For example, the bilateral filter you can use, and then you can compare the NPS of the image before and after the post-processing filter, and you will get the different NPS, noise power spectrum. And I expect that you also will obtain the different frequency, peak frequency, and also will obtain different average frequency. Okay.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for the answer. So, there is none. I think this is the last question for our morning session. The question is from Mr. Hanendia. Please open your mic and deliver your question.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Mr. Anam. I'm very appreciate. I have one question. You know, the result from the evaluation image quality depends on the slice thickness. Any recommendation of the standards to the measurement image quality, like uniformity, homogeneity, or noise, to the acceptable image quality we can measure? You know, in the Machine City label option slice thickness from the small thickness until high slice thickness. Any recommendation from the lecture of we can using the option slice thickness to the accurate measurement image quality on the city? Thank you very much, Mr. Anam.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Hanen. Actually, the city machine give us the opportunity to choose the different slice thickness and also the different input parameters. So we should use the input parameter wisely based on our desire, based on our clinical application. For example, if we want to obtain the image for example, for our lung image, and we want to see the nodule clearly. So if in this case, we should change our input parameter to get the very to get the good spatial resolution So in this case, we should use the very small slice thickness. I think using 1 millimeters is very good option in this case. But sometimes you want to detect another clinical application. For example, you want to detect the tumors within, for example, within our heart, for example. Because the tumor is soft tissue and our heart also soft tissue, so it is difficult to differentiate the soft tissue within soft tissue, meaning that we have differentiate the image with very low contrast. In this case, we should have the image with very low noise, and the very low noise can be achieved, for example, by using the relatively wide slice thickness. Okay, so the choosing of the input parameters is depend on your clinical indication, depend on your clinical application. It is called as the protocol. So the different clinical examination, we shoot the different protocol. And it is important to note that how to evaluate the protocol is the important task by the medical physicist. So the medical physicist should develop the specific protocol for specific indication. And it is, I think, the very, very important task should be done by the medical physicists in the future. So the medical physicists not only doing the quality control, not only doing the radiation protection, but in the future the medical physicists should also doing the optimization for the specific protocol for specific clinical indication. Okay, I hope it is answer your question.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Anam, to your answer. I
Yeah,
got
thank
the
you.
point.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hanan and Dr. Anam, for this question. And now, I think this is the end of our morning session. Thank you so much, Dr. Anam, for this wonderful discussion. And we will continue our lecture session again in the about 1 p.m. So you can rejoin about at 12:30. Thank you so much. We will take a break and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon.
Waalaikumsalam
Waalaikumsalam
warahmatullahi
warahmatullahi
wabarakatuh. See you inshallah. Yeah, thank you very much for all.